Hey y'all, it's Jamie. I wanted to make this video today because I've dealt with quite a few things in the last, I'd say, 2 to 3 months. Some of them positive, some of them not so positive. But what I've learned, because they're all lessons for me, I accept them as all lessons, is how to cope with negative energy or entities that come into my life, into my space, that are not invited. Um, there have been several different types that have come into my life unexpectedly, unwanted, and just kind of, I feel like um, it's all tests to see where I'm at spiritually. So I just wanted to talk about a few of them. And this is not me saying I know everything. This is not me trying to tell you that you know nothing, because innately it comes down, we all have a knowing inside of us. But sometimes it helps to know other people's personal experiences, to know what they've gone through, to find out what works for them and what doesn't work for them. And I'm just going to talk briefly about things that have worked for me personally, and maybe you can find something within that I'm about to say that might help you, that might say, hey, I haven't tried that. Let's try that. Let's see how that works. So I'm going to talk about, excuse me, a couple ways that I've had to deal with some negative issues in my life. First off, I want to talk about the uncrossed. So one of my gifts is, and I did not know it was a gift when it first started occurring, one of my gifts is clairaudience, meaning that when I go to sleep at night, when I'm in a relaxed state, about to fall asleep, I call that the sweet spot. The sweet spot, that's right. That is when your mind is completely relaxed and open, and you don't have up any blocks, and you don't have up any expectations. You're just completely zoning out. That is when the uncrossed like to come and talk to me. When I was younger, I had to be closer towards the sleep side of the sweet spot, which basically is like pretty much on the verge of passing out. And I would lay there and I would hear people just start talking. And the way I describe it is as if my brain or something inside of my head has become a radio antenna. And it keeps turning, and I keep picking up snippets of conversation. Some of them directed towards me, some of them just completely off the wall, directed towards I don't know who. It's almost like I'm listening in, like I've tuned in into the spirit world. And when I was younger, I was fascinated by this. I think I was like 15, 16. I would just sit there and listen and be like, what is going on in my head? Never said anything to anyone else. But now I'm quite aware of what is taking place. Now I can be just relaxed. I don't have to be closer towards that sleeping side of the sweet spot. They come to me when I am not prepared for them, when I have not put up boundaries or obstacles, when I didn't realize this was an issue. They would come to me and they would literally take turns. You would have one soul say something, and then another soul would say something, and then another soul would say something, and they would take turns. And it would interrupt my sleep. It would keep me from sleeping. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. Some of the things they say is like, what? You know, they have different voices, female and male, different ages, different ethnicities. So it's quite interesting when they start speaking. But it became a problem because I was not sleeping. It became a problem because it was emotionally taking a toll on me. I remember one night it was really bad because not only were they speaking to me, they were showing me their death scenarios. So I'm sitting here listening to what they're saying about their death, and they're showing me how they died. Um, so I had to quickly figure out that I was not yet prepared for that situation as a practicing medium. I'm not on the level of some other people. And I know when you start crossing over souls, you have to be prepared for the responsibility. It's a huge responsibility, huge. Um, and I am not at this time prepared for that responsibility. I'm having a hard enough time with my life as it is without taking that on my shoulders. Yet, I feel that's something I'm going to do. So that's one way that I don't want to call them negative. They're just uncrossed souls. They're unwelcomed energies and entities in my space. Another way that I've had to deal with, I will call these negative energies or entities, is when I am sleeping. And I'll be awakened by the feel of energy being pushed on my head, in my head. Sometimes the uncrossed do this, but most of the time it feels negative. I've also gone over a person's house once and been speared. It felt like someone just took an energy spear and just shoved it straight through my side, and it hurt so bad, and it was so unexpected that I like bent over in pain. I doubled over in pain. So I've been physically attacked, energetically attacked, but it doesn't always have to be painful. It's just uncomfortable. It's almost when a spirit is, or a soul, or whatever it is, coming to me while I'm sleeping, and they're pushing their energy into my head. It's almost as if they're trying to control my consciousness. And that's very unsettling to wake up to. That's happened to me quite a bit. And then I've had an attachment where an uncrossed soul stuck with me. I don't know how that happened, but my personality changed, and it was a totally unwanted attachment. I knew something was going on, but I really didn't. I really didn't want to deal with it at all. I didn't have the energy to try to fix it. Excuse me. The third issue that I've had is being tricked by spirits. And this one's very hard for me to talk about because it's fairly recent. And it has to do with very sensitive topics. But essentially, what happened was I have realized that a spirit that is uncrossed listened in on my conversations with a friend. And there were details shared between my friend and I that this spirit took notes about and remembered. And that spirit, I am guessing, saw how much I love my friend. Very much. I love her very much. I wanted that for himself or herself, whoever it is, and decided that they wanted that love for themselves. And so, through using the details shared between me and my friend, tricked me into believing that the communication that I had was with my friend and not with this rogue spirit. And it was very, very, very difficult to deal with. So I've been physically attacked. I've had an attachment. I've been energetically attacked. And I think there's another one, but I can't even remember right now. My memory's horrible. Sorry, guys. Bear with me. In a nutshell, though, what I want to say is I've had to deal with all this hoopla. What do I do about that? How do I protect myself? How do I keep from being woken up by uncrossed souls talking to me? How do I keep from falling into fear when I feel someone touching me, or shoving their energy into my space, or disrespecting me by attaching to me, or tricking me with an issue that is so to my core emotional? How do I defend myself against that? Well, you can. And I've learned many, many skills. And so that's the basis. I want to share them with you. Sorry for the long, drawn-out stories, but been through a lot with this. Let me switch my page. How do we protect ourselves? So, I guess the first thing we want to talk about is, do we really need protection? There are people that say, I'm kind of one of them. I've been really tossing around this topic back and forth. Do we need protection? And if we think we do need protection, are we allowing those negative aspects into our reality simply with the fact that we believe that we need protection? That's a head trip. That's for you to decide. I'm back and forth on the issue because I had that concept in my brain and I still got issues. I think what it boils down to is even spirits and souls have free will, don't they? And they can do what they want if they have access to you. So say you've done everything that you can and you still have these issues. What can you do about it? So I'm going to share some of my techniques. I use black tourmaline, Apache tears, and obsidian. I keep these under my pillow. They ward off negative energy. Again, it's all about belief systems. If you don't believe stones or crystals work, they're not going to work. Don't bother with it. So this is all intention. I love this stuff. I just came across this. My friend sent this to me. Lisa, I love you. Palo Santo wood, holy wood. When I use this, I burn it, just like sage. It clears bad energy, and it helps you communicate. And when I use it, I feel great. Like sometimes I get, like my head feels like it's up here, and I'm just communicating. It's awesome. My friend suggested this. Crystals. They can be assigned tasks. Did you know that? This is the thing that helped the uncrossed know they are not allowed to bother me when I'm sleeping. She said, Jamie, she's like, assign your crystal a task. Assign your crystal the task of keeping out the unwanted. She's like, write down on a piece of paper who's allowed in your space, and then put that crystal down on top of that paper, and that crystal will guard your space. And I was like, awesome! Let's try it. I'm open for anything. I tried it, and it worked. This is my guard crystal, and he is boss. Okay. Of course, we all have our sage. Well, not all of us, but most of us should. I like the sage, but lately I'm into the Palo Santo holy wood. But sage also clears energy and, yeah, does all that great stuff. There's grounding. You should all know how to ground. If you don't, totally easy. Look it up on YouTube videos. Let's see. Shielding, which is thinking, like my personal thing is I like to create a bubble around me, fill that bubble with white light so that I don't trap anything in my bubble. and then put mirrors on the outside of my bubble, blocking anything that comes in. But this is the most important of all. This is what I wanted to share the most. I've done all these things, and guess what? Things were still coming through. And things will always come through, I think, because they have free will. And I think sometimes it's good to see what you're made of. Because now at this time, because of all these things that are happening to me, I can be asleep and know that I am completely in control of what do I allow around my space. And the reason I know this is because I was sleeping and I had one of those energy attacks in my head. And I felt this entity thrusting its energy into my consciousness, into my mind, trying to, I don't know what it was trying to do. Maybe it was trying to see what it could get away with. And it got away with quite a bit. Until I just woke up this much. Little bit of consciousness. That's all it took. Not even fully awake. Barely remembered it the next day. But I was like, oh, okay, this is happening. And I started calling on Jesus and Archangel Michael. And I call on Archangel Michael all the time. He's a regular. Love him. And it lessened. But then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to shoot it love. I'm going to blast love on it. And I'm telling you, it works. You shoot any negative entity love, you concentrate on what love feels like, they cannot take it. They have to retreat. Every single time I've done this. I don't even have to be fully awake for this to work. I mean, I am asleep, knowing what's going on. And that makes me feel like a spiritual badass, because I don't even have to be awake anymore. I instinctively do this. It's an instinctive protection mechanism for me now. Awesome. I feel great. I have like no fear anymore. And then another entity, I think a week ago, I was laying there in bed and I just felt it move in and I got fearful. And I was like, okay, you have a decision to make, Jamie. You can be fearful or you can shoot at some love. Let's shoot at some love. Let's see what happens. Let's rock this boat. Shot at some love. Gone. Because if you decide not to focus on the fear and you focus on the love instead, how are you going to lose? How are you going to lose? Love trumps all, right? Common sense. So, you can use all these gizmos, gadgets, crystal stones, intention, shielding, grounding, all that stuff. Call on your guide team, whatever. But the basics of it that I've realized is love. They can't stand against it. They can't. So anyway, I hope this helps someone. I'm so sorry it's long and drawn out. My brain does not work as normal. So I tend to get long-winded. So anyway, my guys were pushing me to make this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you